Hey there, it's Will Vaughan from Your Career Mastery, and in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how I negotiated a $30,000 pay rise in my job. Firstly, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because there's more videos coming out each and every week to make you a more successful professional. So no, it isn't a clickbait headline. I did in fact negotiate a $30,000 pay rise for my current job, and it happened when I switched jobs. So at my last role, I was at that company for about 4 years. It was an insurance tech company. And during the Great Resignation, I decided to leave my role there, pack up shop and move on to a new role where I now work for a multinational CPG or FMCG company, whatever you want to call it. And as part of transitioning from my old role to my new role at a new company, I was able to negotiate a $30,000 increase on what I was earning in my previous role. And in this video, I'm going to break down the 4 tips that allow me to negotiate such a steep pay rise, which was actually one of the most significant pay rises in my professional career to date. So the first tip in terms of how I was able to negotiate such a great pay rise was because I knew what I was worth. And in all of my videos on this channel where I talk about how you can negotiate a higher salary or a promotion or a pay rise, whatever it is you're going after, you need to know your value first and foremost. If you don't know what number you're going for in a negotiation, how are you going to know if you are successful in that process and in that transaction? So you need to know your number, you need to know what you're worth. And so when I was going through the process during the Great Resignation of changing jobs, I was actually getting offers from different companies, but I was also talking to a number of recruiters to understand what is the market rate for my role. For someone who has my level of experience in digital marketing, which is the field that I work in, and also my level of tenure in the company and the kind of roles I've worked across, the kinds of projects that I've contributed to, what would someone of my level of experience be worth to the market? What is the going rate? And because I was able to get a line of sight from recruiters who recruit for roles in that particular field that I work in every single day, they understand what the market rate is for that job because recruiters often get paid on commission for the roles that they're able to fill on behalf of companies. So recruiters see, for the most part, all the roles, all the resumes, and all of the average pay packets and salaries, the full compensation kit that companies are paying for certain roles. So they're able to give you a good view on what the market will be paying for your level of expertise and the role that you work in. And that was absolutely the case for me. And it was very eye-opening to see that the market was actually paying a very significant premium to the current salary that I was on in my previous role. And I have to admit, if I did not know that the market rate was $30,000 more than I was currently earning, I probably will have only asked for $5,000 or $10,000 more than I was currently earning because I didn't know what the market rate was. So it's super important. If you're looking to get a pay rise when you're changing jobs, you need to know what your salary rate is. And let's be honest, when you're in a particular role, a company is only going to give you so many pay rises and promotions that won't actually match your market value because companies tend to only increase your pay in little increments. But when you change jobs, you can actually have a massive increase in your salary because your value to the market hasn't gone up in little increments. Over 4 years or 5 years working a particular company, you might be worth $100,000 or $60,000 or $50,000 more to the market and to that particular company based on the skills you've acquired, the knowledge you've developed, and the skills and the value that you can bring a particular company in terms of the impact that you can have. So tip number 1, in terms of how I landed a $30,000 pay rise, was that I knew what the market rate was. Tip number 2 was that I knew this company could afford it. Not all companies can fork out top dollar for certain roles, but if you're a big company or if you're trying to work for a big company that you know has got deep pockets, that makes good money, that is well backed financially, and that the scope of your role can have a very far-reaching financial impact on the business in terms of the scope of your impact and the financial impact it can have, then you know that they could probably have a good chance of affording your role, especially if it's in the top end of the bracket for the kind of role that you're going for. If you look at a company like Microsoft or Google or Facebook, these companies make so much money that when it comes to hiring, let's say, software developers, they can afford to pay top dollar to attract the top talent. Whereas a smaller company that doesn't make a bajillion dollars in profit, they might not be able to fork out at such a competitive rate to hire for a software developer. That's why these big tech companies can poach all the best talent because they can afford to, and it's in their interest because hiring top talent and getting it into their company can have a massive global impact, a really scaled impact on driving financial on driving meaningful financial results for this particular company. And we're talking millions, if not billions of dollars. Every time I use the word billions and billions, I feel like I start to sound like Dr. Evil or something. But this is really the case for these big companies. They've got deep pockets. They can afford to pay top dollar. They can afford, in some cases, to pay unnecessarily high amounts of money to attract and retain top talent because it's so competitive in that tech space. But bringing it back to the conversation today, so I knew the company that I was interviewing for that gave me this $30,000 pay rise compared to what I was earning in my current role at the time. I knew that they could afford it. I knew it was a big company. It was national across Australia. They could afford to pay out for the kind of salary expectation that I had and that I knew that the market was paying. Tip number 3, I had leverage. So I was able to negotiate a higher salary. And in fact, they were able to offer a higher salary than what I was expecting, all because I had leverage and they knew I had leverage. And leverage can come in many forms. You might have a rare skill set that gives you really unique leverage in the salary negotiation. You might have a rare set of experience or skills or knowledge that might give you an edge in terms of the market that you're working in or a particular industry that might make you a very hot candidate for the role. But in my case as well, so I got my job at my current company during the Great Resignation. So we were still going through locked borders here in Australia due to COVID, and there was definitely a skills shortage. So I was able to play that to my favor because I knew that these roles were very competitive and there was definitely a higher demand for roles than there was talent in the market. So I also knew that this company had this role available. I knew that there weren't a ton of applicants. I knew that they wanted to get this role closed off quick smart. I was able to use that to my advantage. So sometimes market conditions, external factors can be a point of leverage. And if you know you've got that leverage, use it to your advantage. You should be using every single point of leverage that you've got at your disposal to your advantage in order to negotiate the highest salary and the best overall compensation package possible for the role. And tip number 4, in terms of how I was able to land a $30,000 pay rise, and honestly, this is one of the best tips out there, which is I had the confidence to ask for it. Most of us do not like conversations about money. The people trying to hire us for the role don't want to talk about money. We don't want to talk about money. It makes everyone feel very uncomfortable to talk about salaries and bonuses and negotiating packages. But let's be honest here. We all have to eat. We all have to make a living. And we should all deserve to be paid for the value that we can bring a particular company. So it's part of being a mature, responsible professional and just an adult to take responsibility for having the confidence to ask for the value that we are worth to a company and to the marketplace, for the value that we can bring. And oftentimes we get complacent. We also get a kind of a Stockholm syndrome where we've been working in a particular company for so long. We feel like we owe this company because it's been so good to us. Maybe it's invested in our development. It's flown us to conferences and all this great stuff. But let me tell you this. You don't owe this company anything. In fact, you don't owe them anything other than doing your job to your highest ability and being responsible in terms of your job. In my career to date, I've seen many examples where companies have gone through restructures and redundancies, in many cases at the drop of a hat. And they can take people who've been in a company for 5 years, 6 years, 10 years and make them redundant. And all of a sudden, you've got no money coming in. You have to look for a new job. And even highly valued people who've got a lot of tenure in a particular company can be made redundant. So don't feel like you owe this company anything other than doing your job to the highest ability and to the highest standard. Beyond that, you owe them nothing because the reality is that our jobs can be taken away from us at the drop of a hat. But the key takeaway here is that if you're going for a new role, you need to find out what you're worth to the market and really calculate with the skills and experiences and the value that you've accumulated in your current role over the years working in a particular company. What are you now worth? Because you're probably worth a lot more than the salary that you're being paid, especially if you've been within a company for a long time. So I highly urge you to talk to some recruiters, get a view on what your value is, and when you go for that next role and you get to the salary negotiation, have the confidence to ask for what you're worth and stick to it. Really stick to it. And don't just negotiate your salary, negotiate your bonus structure and any other incentives that might be relevant for the company. If they're a public company on the stock exchange, try and get some stock. If they offer a company car or a phone, try to get that too. But be responsible. Don't be weird about it. Don't be greedy either. Be mature, be respectful, but also stand your ground. Make sure that you get the compensation that you deserve and that you're paid the market rate and even paid above the market rate as part of your negotiation if that feels right for you and the role that you're going for and the value that you can bring the company. So I'm Will Vaughan from Your Career Mastery. Hope you found this video helpful, but more importantly, I hope this video inspires you that if you're going for a new role and you're going to be negotiating it, that you try and get a really significant pay bump because Having more money in the bank account every week, every month has a massive impact to your life in terms of managing your bills, your expenses, your mortgage, going out with friends, buying presents for your spouse, planning a wedding, whatever it's going to be. You need to get out there and you need to go and get your money because you deserve it. I promise you that. If you got value from this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you've got any questions, any feedback, any stories, anything you want to share, chuck it in the comments below and I'll get back to you and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.